Smith.
Go, go!
Let's go! Yeah! Let's go!
I think we believed enough.
Let's go!
I know, we said go, Knights, go.
The series is tied. The Vegas Golden Knights win against the Minnesota Wild 4-3 in a wild game, no pun intended there, and I just realized what I said, that I was not comfortable with. It freaked me out far more than it should have, considering the fact that I had zero confidence in, the Vegas Golden Knights. Yeah. But it doesn't matter, because going back to a best of 3 where we have home ice, it's tied at 2 apiece. And arguably, I could see Minnesota have already won by this point in 4 games. Like, they could have swept us because they have outplayed us. Their top line outplayed ours. Their defense isn't constantly shooting themselves in the foot until we're gonna get to it. And Gus has been phenomenal and better than Hill, despite, Hill's been good. I'm not trying, but Gus has been phenomenal. And I was not happy. I was quite frankly angry going into overtime and throughout most of it, because honestly, Minnesota fans, you guys have Fleury, you have Kaprizov, you have Boldy, you have Rossi, you have a phenomenal team that is definitely better than a wild card. And Gus and Fleury, of course, my favorite player of all time. And yet, you find ways to just be so... I cannot, root for this team at all. I obviously like Vegas, 100%. But if somehow Minnesota were to win, I was thinking, yeah, I'd cheer for Fleury to get his 4th, or Kaprizov's phenomenal to watch. But no, this series has been awful to watch next to you guys, because you complain about every single little thing every time Vegas doesn't get a call on things that arguably, the refs should have called. It's the playoffs, and I'm not trying to make that as an excuse. I wish they would call the regular season and the playoffs the exact same, and they don't. And Vegas fans are used to that because we're used to being in the playoffs. And that is arrogant. And we are spoiled franchise. We are a spoiled fan base, the Vegas Golden Knights are. And Minnesota, sports teams in general, have sucked for so long that you guys are probably the opposite of spoiled. However, the way that you yell, refs, you suck, 8 or 9 times in building throughout the night, booing, Zeev Buium completely chopping Mark Stone's face, making a clean incision as if put under the knife for surgery, that barely missed Stone's eye. He could have lost his eye with that high stick, and you had the audacity to boo that penalty? Unacceptable. Yes, there was the thing that happened, I think it was Wah, on that power play. I didn't see it because, I can't get a stinking replay with it being on TBS instead of ESPN, but whatever. And then he scored, right? But also, on top of all of that, Hurdle and Hartman, Hurdle kind of goes to tackle him. Hartman grabs him behind the neck and pulls, because it's Ryan Hartman, and he does those pest type things. He has been phenomenal in the series. He's done amazing things that were hockey. And then he's also done things like cross-checking Haig in the back. And I know you don't want to hear about Haig, because Haig. And then Haig turns around and cross-checks him in the face, and that's not what you want to do. And Ryan Hartman being a pest, that's normal. But then you say that Vegas is cross-checking your players. Meanwhile, you have Ryan Hartman on your team. No! And he does stupid, boneheaded things that gets him suspended every single season. If he would just stop doing those things like he did to Tim Stützle earlier in the season, he could be a regular middle 6 phenomenal player for the Wild. But instead, he's got a reputation, and you guys in general just complain about everything. And you got a power play in overtime. I'm working myself back up. I'm getting angry despite the fact that Vegas won. And that should make me happy. And it does. I'm honestly so thrilled that we're going back to Vegas tied 2-2, because Vegas now has an opportunity to do something different. I ate a Granny Smith apple because Riley Smith scored at the end of last game. I ate it this morning. An apple a day keeps the Wild at bay, and it worked, right? Guess I have to eat one before game 5. I am not superstitious. There's nothing that I do that has any impact on the game. I say that stuff because I guess part of me is a little stitious. And Vegas finally, for the first time since game 1, get on the board first because of a power play. Our 5-on-5 sucks. Just straight up dog water until Minnesota, makes an unforced error. And finally, for the first time, your defenseman makes a single error in the series. It didn't happen until game 4. You guys have been playing fantastic. And I'm working myself back up. I have that point, and I'm going to talk about it after I go through a little bit of the actual game. Shea Theodore on the point, sends it on in. Great. Fantastic. Finally starting to make up for yourself after game 2. Shea Theodore, he's my favorite player on the Golden Knights. I want him to do well. I'm not trying to bag on him, not trying to rip into him, but he just had a terrible game. Didn't quite make up for it in game 3. He has glimpses of his offensive prowess, that elite offensiveness in his game. And finally, today, it actually produced something. Speaking of Minnesota being a good team, I think it was White Cloud tries to lay a hit, and as the puck gets in deep, Hay goes for the puck, and I don't even know who beat him to it. It could have been Hartman, it could have been, I don't know. Gets to him, lays into him, into the boards, which boarding, technically, kind of, but and the audacity of me to say boarding, right, with Kaprizov and what happened to him, but no, that's not the point. And a beautiful play from Minnesota to tie the game 1-1. It was all credit to Minnesota. You can give credit to the other team being good, guys. And the fact that Haig is the most hated player in Wild Nation right now makes no sense to me. I understand he's been at it with Hartman and Eriksson Ek and all that jazz, but not the player that you should have the most beef with, but honestly, you only really have reason to have beef with him because of all that jazz in Vegas not really playing well, despite, it being tied 2-2. Our top line straight up sucked. They cannot seem to get it together. And Bruce Cassidy, credit to him, always putting his lines in a blender throughout every game of this entire series. But yet we go back to what it is in the beginning of each game, at the beginning of each game. I don't know. To start the second period, Marcus Foligno, what a play. Foligno, thinking it's the NFL draft that he's in the combine for, reaches up, one hand grabs the puck, brings it down, and Hanifin gets a stick on it, I think, which means that it's a live play instead of a hand pass. And it gets back out, Hartman sends it on, and then Foligno buries home the rebound, 2-1 for Minnesota. And I am pissed because I had a little bit of faith. Vegas had been playing well. This game actually felt a little bit of back and forth instead of just complete domination from Minnesota for the first time since a little bit of game 1. And despite the fact that, they keep outplaying us, the first line and all that. Anyway, and then that play happens, and that's terrible puck luck, and as well as Minnesota making their own luck and benefiting from it. And so it's 2-1 throughout the rest of the second period. And the longer that this goes on, Vegas, I believe less and less. And I am so nervous about this game specifically. This is the first game I've been nervous for since last playoffs. And it's for good reason. Minnesota's a good team. Were severely underrated, and they're proving why they shouldn't have been throughout these playoffs. And that's great. All credit to them. You can give credit to the other team. And it's just deflating as a Vegas fan because we're won the Pacific Division, second in the West, third in the league, and this is the performance that they're putting out. The top line not performing, and it just continues. We got another couple of power plays in there, did not work. We replaced Dorofeev with Riley Smith. Riley Smith was our best forward, but Dorofeev on that power play, he hasn't been able to do much on it since the playoffs started, and this is Dorofeev's real first real taste of the playoffs, and he just hasn't been who he was in the regular season, our top goal scorer. We kind of need that, but eerily similar to a series I don't want to relive, which is Montreal back in 2021. We don't want to relive because we've lost that in 6. Nick Waugh on the power play ties the game. 15 minutes left to go in the third. This is the Zeeves double minor for high-sticking Stone in his eye socket. And Wild fans were a little upset because Waugh cross-checked or something. I honestly don't know. But going back all the way back to the first period, the reason that Howden drew that penalty in the first, they are saying is because Pearson cross-checked somebody else, and so that high sticking never would have happened. That's a huge whataboutism, and you can't complain about that. It was a clear penalty of high sticking, and you called diving on Brett Howden and booing the refs. And obviously the refs missed stuff. They missed stuff on both sides, despite the fact that you guys don't believe that your team can commit a single freaking penalty. I'm working myself back up again. It was a tie game. And I felt as soon as they scored, it was gonna go to overtime. I was just like, I know it's gonna go to overtime. And then Vegas scores again.
Let's be clear. He felt a lot of final outcomes that were also wrong.
What did I feel other than overtime? I guaranteed overtime.
Minnesota, 2 times when they scored, you go, yep, Vegas is out.
They still might be. We have to
this game.
fix how we're playing.
They're gonna lose.
I don't think I said that.
You
I said
one
that
times?
when Minnesota got the power play in overtime. That is the one time I said that Minnesota was going to win. But we killed it off, so thank goodness for that. This is the tie-breaking goal from Tomas Hertl, where he kind of tackled, also was dragged by Ryan Hartman. The puck goes from Stone off of his shin pad and in. It was the perfect bounce, finally a bounce that goes Vegas' way, and Vegas took the lead. There's about 10 minutes left, but 30 seconds later, yeah, it's going to overtime. Jared Spurgeon on a wraparound play. Fantastic play from the Minnesota captain. And the entire series, Minnesota has been the first to the puck, or Vegas immediately gives it up when Minnesota pressures them after Vegas gets the puck first. It's one of those two things. They have won most puck battles. They won this one here immediately after. So then they get the momentum back and Vegas is on their heels again. Just a couple of examples of things that went Minnesota's way and refs, not calling anything was Keegan Kolzar clearly getting slashed in overtime after Minnesota already got a power play in overtime, because I said before they called the power play, oh, that's overtime in the playoffs. The refs aren't going to call anything. They called Nick Waugh for holding. That is what they call. That was weak sauce. That was a weak call, makeup call, I guess. I don't know. And then they don't call that one on Keegs. Yeah, and they wanted Vegas to win. Little sus in my mind about you guys saying that. Zuccarello embellishment. Great no call because he lost an edge, but they wanted to call that on Mark Stone. Refs you suck chant breaks out. It was clearly like him falling on his own and kind of selling it too, since we call embellishments now, I guess. Who was it? Boldy? Had his bucket knocked off. You're supposed to immediately go to the bench. You can't put that back on and keep playing. That should have been a penalty. That's an equipment violation. You're not allowed to do that anymore. But no call. Okay, great. As long as we're on the same page of they not calling, the refs, not calling things for Minnesota as well as them not calling things for Vegas. It's both ways. They miss things all the time. They also try to manage the game instead of calling the game, which means that, oh, well, like, we let them get away with this, so we're gonna let them get away with the next thing, even though the next thing is way more egregious than the previous thing. It doesn't make any sense to me. Every single penalty. Okay, Michael Russo, before the series, loved his work. He does fantastic things for The Athletic, the way he posts on Twitter. Now that we're facing in the playoffs against him, I don't know. As a person, he's great. And again, he does good work. Every time he tweets about something that is called on Minnesota or not called against Vegas, it's like, and the Wild getting their first power play, Kolzar, death grip on Zuccarella's stick, which, yeah, no, that was a clear penalty, but death grip, that's a little, like, leading, I don't know. And, yeah, Kolzar grabbed the stick. You can't do that. That's a penalty. Why would he do that? See, you can admit your player screws up. Wild killed a penalty, and Hines trying to calm himself down from the same heart attack these two refs nearly gave the other person 2 nights ago. Seriously? Like, a little bit dramatic, and that's good for getting clicks, but that's also a little clickbaity, and everything this is such a classic Trevor Hansen ref game if I ever saw one. Kaprizov held Eriksson Ek, elbowed in the face, now he calls Eriksson Ek for slashing. Like, you are leading your fan base, and that's good, but it's also making them the whiniest bunch of fans in the league. And the reason why was Vegas had too many men but got away with it. Blatant too many men, Wild. That he called it blatant, and yet still in the thing. Weird, they can spot, but they can't spot late blindside hits. There was no late blindside hit. Oh my goodness. Won't call the boarding though. That wasn't boarding because it wasn't in the numbers, it was up. Cassidy not happy with the referee. No one was happy with the referee, which means it was probably a little bit fair, but apparently, and that only means that for the Wild, it's because Vegas is getting all the officiating, getting a fair game. and crying about it. No, you guys have been crying about it all series. Eriksson Ek blocks a shot in his ankle, and apparently that's the refs. Vegas and the refs make the Dallas Stars look like an honorable team. I'm sorry, Eriksson Ek blocked a shot. I just don't understand. Like, I don't understand the victim mentality by all. Like, you guys, every team, every fan base complains about the refs. All of them do. There's not a single fan base out there that doesn't. I'm not trying to say Vegas is clean of this too, and we have ignorant fans just like every other fan base. But it's just absurd. The amount of, like, I'm talking about all this negative stuff when it's a Vegas win. I'm gonna go over that overtime goal. Jacob Middleton whiffs on a pass in the defensive zone. Vegas takes it. Riley Smith grabs the puck, sends it on. There's a huge flurry in front of the net that was owned by Gus. And Vegas pounces on it. Barbashev buries the goal. And we win game 4, tie up the series, head it back to Vegas, best of 3 where we have home ice advantage. And all the while I did not wake up the sleeping baby. Now, reminiscent of Montreal's game. That Montreal game in game 4 of 2021, Montreal was leading 2-1. Vegas ties up the series in game 4. Nick Waugh scored a goal in that game, and then they lost the next 2. Minnesota have failed to ever have a 3-1 series lead, and at the same time, I fully just did not have confidence in this team to be able to tie the game. They did it. To win it in overtime, especially after Minnesota got that power play, they did it. They killed off the penalty, they scored, and meanwhile, despite my fact that I had no confidence in this team, my heart rate was never below 100 in overtime because it just means something else. Playoff overtime hockey is exhilarating. If you have a dog in the fight, holy moly. It peaked, I think, at 120 when we scored, but it was never below 100 during the overtime period, which also indicates that I'm probably not as healthy as I want to be, nor is this healthy for me. But this being the one game that I'm going to for sure be able to watch with my family, maybe all playoffs, because of how late they are, the fact that we were able to have this moment together, I am really appreciative for. There's not very many, especially since we live on the East Coast, times where my kids are going to be able to see an overtime game-winning goal from Vegas. And so it's personally sentimental for me for us to be able to have this. And painting a broader picture, Vegas has been outplayed all 4 games. Minnesota should be favored, yet Vegas is, which doesn't make any sense to me. Vegas has the opportunity to be able to pull ahead at home, to be able to, despite the fact that we played pretty poorly for the first 4 games, still, win the series. And that's exactly what I hope they do. Let's go. Go Knights, go. It's going to have to start with our top line doing anything. I don't know if Eichel's injured. I don't know what's going on with them. They have not been that productive. I liked the line changes that Bruce Cassidy kind of settled in towards the end with Carlson, Smith, and Eichel, I think was a line. I don't know. Enjoy the win. And we for sure have 2 more games. Let's go. That's going to be it for round 1, game 4's nightly review. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good